The Attitude Era's biggest catchphrases, "That's the bottom line 'cause Stone Cold said so," "Do you smell what The Rock is cooking and suck it," are still an iconic part of WWE. But ask any fan who watched at the time and they're sure to tell you one of their favorite catchphrases came from the deranged but lovable Al Snow. Al Snow was one of the icons of the WWE Attitude Era. Al Snow was known as a hardcore legend. What does everybody want head? ANONPG reference to the decapitated mannequin head that the crazed superstar carried to the ring and held conversations with. It was a hugely popular gimmick that made Al a standout name in the original ECW, and an integral part of WWE's most successful ever period. And though it's 9 years since Al worked with WWE, the veteran star is still very much a part of the wrestling business. He recently launched his own wrestling sportswear brand Color X Elbow, a reference to the tie-up hold that almost all forms of combat sports employ, and continues to run his own wrestling academy. Al is best remembered by WWE fans for his Attitude Era run, his hardcore matches, the dreaded Kennel from Hell match, and his Head Cheese tag team with Steve Blackman. But his WWE career began several years earlier. Al Snow was famed for carrying around his iconic friend head. Samoa Joe refuses to rule out a sensational WWE return for CM Punk and speaks on potential tag team. WWE legend The Undertaker had a secret fear of cucumbers and Owen Hart would stuff them in his boots. Jon Jones wants to join WWE and calls out Brock Lesnar, mounting SummerSlam rumors after steamrolling Russ Event, now going after WWE champ Jinder Mahal. John Cena sucks again. Jon Jones confirms himself as greatest of all time with brutal Daniel Cormier then calls out WWE's Brock Lesnar. He originally portrayed masked wrestlers Avatar and Shinobi in 1995 before playing Leif Cassidy in the New Rockers tag team. Some fans would argue that these characters held the talented star back from realizing his potential, but he takes full responsibility to not making them a success. He told Sunsport, "Those were opportunities that I mishandled. I didn't have enough of an understanding or knowledge to take full advantage." Al Snow was a member of the New Rockers tag team. Al Snow is a former WWE Hardcore champion. Al Snow has not worked for WWE for 9 years. At that time, I made the mistake that a lot of pro wrestlers do and pointed the finger at everyone else and never took responsibility for not succeeding. I was given a stage and platform. The Avatar character was new and different and neat, but knowing what I know now, I could have made that so much more than what it was. There's a common misperception that Vince McMahon is somehow burying young wrestlers by saddling them with gimmicks, but Al says that's not the case. He said Vince McMahon genuinely wants every wrestler to succeed. He's a businessman, not to mention his ego. The more his wrestlers succeed, the more his business succeeds, the more he succeeds, and he gets to take credit. Guys misunderstand. In WWE, Vince gives you creative freedom. WWE legend Goldberg delivers a random act of kindness to a member of the public once and you step in that ring. There's nothing Vince can do to help you get over, and there's nothing he can do to stop you getting over. It's 100% on you and you're free to do whatever you want. You've got limitations with TV time, but it's up to you, it truly is. Al's mixed fortunes as Avatar and Leif Cassidy would prove frustrating, and even prompted him to ask for his WWE release at one point. But it came at a fortuitous time, as Paul Heyman was working with WWE to stage the original Invasion, which saw ECW stars appear on Raw in February 1997. Al said, "I had to go away and reinvent myself. If I stayed in WWE, I was never going to be in a better spot." Chris Candido spoke to Paul Heyman on my behalf. Heyman spoke to Vince, and I was kind of put on loan to ECW. Al Snow suplexes Hardcore Holly during a bout on SmackDown. Al Snow dressed in his Avatar character. It was in ECW that Al created the gimmick that put him on the wrestling map. Al recalled, "Paul had no plans for me, so I was free to do whatever I wanted. I was trying to demonstrate that I had suffered a nervous breakdown, and had mental illness. I was reading books on abnormal psychology and read a case study about a woman who heard voices from inanimate objects. She thought they were talking to her. I picked up this mannequin head that was backstage at a show and remembered Mick Foley jerking around in the car with this styrofoam head. He kept his mask on. He would pretend it was his girlfriend and I thought, I'm going to take this to the arena and talk to it. It just took off." Al Snow with his dog Pepper. Al Snow was also a star in ECW. It's over 16 years since the original ECW closed its doors, but the impact of influential promotion is still felt today. Al thinks the key to ECW's success was its relationship with the fans, and likens it to the current British grappling scene. Al said we kind of knew that we had something special with ECW, both between the wrestlers and the audience, and that it was pretty unique at the time. I don't think we knew the ramifications or influence it would end up having on wrestling as a whole. WWE back then felt like it was Vince's. Even though you didn't know Vince was the guy running it, it was Vince McMahon's. WWE star John Cena shows off his weightlifting skills, but ECW felt very like it was yours, as a fan. The fans at the arena were as much a part of the show as the show itself. I think right now the boom period English wrestling is going through, the audience is like the ECW audience. Those guys are awesome, they love to sing entrance songs and chant. That was much the same in ECW. After returning to WWE in late 1998, Al became the central figure of the company's new hardcore division, inspired by the weapons-filled brawls from ECW. Before WWE's hardcore division turned to pure comic relief, Al pioneered wild battles that went all around the arena and even outside the building. In his most memorable encounters he fought Road Dogg in the snow, and even ended up in the Mississippi River with Hardcore Holly. The matches perfectly suited his character, who wasn't just a goof, but certifiably bonkers, which Al went to extreme lengths to prove. He said, "My character was never comedic, my character was insane. And being insane gives you a certain freedom that other characters don't have." When Head and I were at our height, we'd go out to a public restaurant with Head and order food for both of us. We'd go for breakfast, lunch, and to public places. It'd be carrying Head around and sitting at a table having conversations and getting into arguments. People switching through the channels could go, "You know, I saw that guy the other night at that restaurant, he's really crazy, he really talks to that thing." XU star Scott Steiner admits he turned down a WWE Legends deal and slates the company in a hardcore match. Jumping in the Mississippi River makes sense because the character's out of his mind. I could get away with anything. Perhaps his most infamous hardcore championship match for all the wrong reasons was the Kennel from Hell against the Big Boss Man. After Al swapped Head for a Chihuahua named Pepper, Boss Man dognapped the pooch and cooked it, then fed it to Al as pepper steak. The resulting match saw Al and the Boss Man do battle inside two cages, with dogs guarding the space in between. But the gimmick was doomed from the start. Epic WWE battle between The Undertaker and Raw GM Kurt Angle. Al said, "At the time they were trying to separate me from the Head, so they gave me the dog and pitched me the idea that it would end up in this kennel. My first comment was, we need trained animals. Well, we get to the match and there are 10 different dogs with 10 different owners, and none of them had been trained. Now you've got the entire crux of a story built around these animals, but they're urinating, defecating, and fornicating to the point where you can show them on TV. So what do you expect? It's not going to work. It's like having Kane in a fire match then not being able to use the fire." Al would continue to wrestle for WWE until 2003, before returning for the relaunched version on ECW and working as a trainer for WWE's developmental territory OVW. He also continued to wrestle on the independent circuit and spent several years working with Impact, now GFW, both behind the scenes as a on-screen performer. Al is concerned about the state of modern wrestling, citing the lack of places for indie wrestlers to get booked regularly. He said wrestling has become more sophisticated because the audience is more sophisticated. But has it changed? No. Why? Because there's only one thing that's fake in wrestling, and that's just the outcome. In 1911, the outcome was the only thing that was fake. In 1967, the outcome was the only thing that was fake. In 2017, the outcome is the only thing that is fake. You're selling to the audience two things: who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, trying to win and not lose. Too many wrestlers these days want the audience to believe in what they do, not who they are and why they've done it. That there are fewer places for wrestlers to make a living. I don't care how great they are athletically. How well can they motivate you to leave your house and go watch them? Jeff Hardy hits The Rock with the people's elbow in first WWE run back in 2003. That's a wrestler's real job. Because if you don't come watch them, they don't get paid. But the El Snow Wrestling Academy, which is based here in the UK, with schools in London, Cheshire, and the Midlands, is a great starting point. His academy offers trainers with years of experience in the business, not just learning how to wrestle, but learning how to pay the bills as a wrestler. With affiliate schools in Denmark, Bulgaria, Romania, Portugal, Chile, and Greece, trainees can travel the world and learn how to perform in front of different audiences. Al's new sportswear brand Elbow X Collar, which he describes as a way to show your knowledge and passion for wrestling, is also giving back to the business. WWE superstar Braun Strowman shows his brute strength. Wrestlers can get involved to make some extra cash while working the indie scene, and donations are also made to veteran wrestlers organization, Cauliflower Alley Club. It's something that reflects one of AL's key philosophies about wrestling, that ultimately it's a team sport. No one is bigger than the show, no one's bigger than wrestling. You can't do anything on your own. If you're a good guy, you need a bad guy. If you're the main event, you need an opening match. If you're a winner, there's got to be someone who's willing to lose. For more on Elbow X Collar, visit collarandelbowbrand.com. Keep up to date with all the latest WWE and wrestling news here. Arsenal legend Tony Adams strikes £200 million agreement to buy Crystal Palace. Helen Chamberlain, 50, quits Soccer AM after 22 years on the famous sofa as Jose Mourinho says he will fight to sign Gareth Bale. Is this the Welsh Wizards' final training session with Real Madrid? Arsenal willing to offload Gabriel as Spanish side Valencia plot £10 million move for Brazilian defender. Arsenal have had a lack of leaders for too long, and I have a horrible feeling it will be the same this term. Jose Mourinho set for talks with Old Trafford Chiefs over plans for a tour of China next summer.